Good evening, everyone, and thanks for coming out and preparing for this very important and necessary election. I'm not going to try to cover all of the NDP platform in 5 minutes, but I will raise a few important issues. Our Parliament's become an embarrassment, a question period where no questions are being answered, just posing, blustering, a complete gong show. I'm embarrassed. There was one bit of light in our Parliament, and that's where all parties worked together in a time of crisis and brought together the action plan that got us working on roads and bridges and other construction projects. It does show that a minority Parliament can get things done for people. It shows that they can work together and show some common sense. And luckily, they inherited a well-regulated banking system that prevented a complete meltdown of the economy. Remember Stephen Harper when he promised to reform the Senate? Well, he didn't. There was a very important bill in the Senate that would have saved the pensions of the Nortel workers. This bill would have put the Nortel workers ahead of the banks in dividing up the remaining assets of Nortel, just as happens in the US and in the UK. But Harper stuffed the Senate with defeated Conservative candidates, his fundraisers and his friends. And every Conservative voted to give the money to the big banks. And every Conservative voted to doom the pensioners to poverty. That's why we're having this election. This shows us the real, true Conservative values and where their priorities stand. Another example. Our elected MPs passed a bill to address the pressing issue of climate change. The majority of our members of Parliament supported it. But when it got to the Senate, once again, Harper's Conservatives defeated the bill, and he was only supported by 38% of the people. And he acted against the will of the Parliament, and he acted against the will of Canadians. There's another example of Stephen Harper's contempt for democracy. Stephen Harper has cut funding to science, to immigrants, to Aboriginal and development and women's groups. Equal pay for ongoing struggle for women for years. Slow progress was being made, but it was nowhere near completed. But Stephen Harper's Conservatives stopped it dead in its tracks. He shut down 12 out of 16 status of women offices, and he terminated the Court Challenges program, which allowed women to take their discrimination to court. Stephen Harper's Conservative values are not my values. I've been involved in our local Quinte healthcare funding struggles for years. Healthcare is a major role of government and a personal interest of mine. Our healthcare got its start in 1967 with another minority government, but this one knew how to work together and get things done. It understood the value of cooperation. At the same time, the National Citizens Coalition was formed to oppose public health care. The National Citizens Coalition was formed with the goal of repealing the Canada Health Act, and Stephen Harper was the president of the National Citizens Coalition for 4 years. Harper's Conservatives cannot be trusted with our health care. A Conservative majority will see private, for-profit health care replace our publicly funded and universally accessible system. Harper's Conservative vision of Canada is not my vision of Canada. Last week I had a disturbing phone call from a man who was retired from the RCMP. He had served 2 tours in Bosnia. He stood proudly with his picketing signs. He was picketing the MP. Wearing his blue beret, his UN emblem, and his peacekeeping medals. Sadly, Harper's Conservatives are keeping him and many others like him from the disability benefits they deserve. Supporting our troops is not putting a sticker on the back of your car. It's making sure that all those who serve us, by putting themselves in harm's way, are fully compensated for any harm that they've suffered, and they shouldn't have to go to court to make it happen. New Democrats have a vision of Canada that's very different from the Conservatives. You can trust Jack Layton and the NDP to build healthcare and stop Conservative privatization plans. Jack Layton and the NDP will strengthen our healthcare and give hundreds more of our youth the opportunity to attend medical schools here in Canada. You can trust Jack Layton and the NDP to strengthen our public pension plans so that no senior in our country is living in poverty. You can trust Jack Layton and the NDP to build our fundamental Canadian values of democracy, equality, and fairness for all. Together, my friends, we can get down to work to build the Canada we want. We're all in this together. Let's make it happen.